o'clock with me, Teacher Jason over here. Alright, so Sec 4 math lesson with me. Hopefully you're at the right track. And yeah, we are actually gonna get started in a little while. Right now with me appearing at the bottom right hand corner, and just nice clock strikes 2 o'clock. Let's get started. Alright, so some general rules along the way. Okay, I believe you guys are very clear already. So some general rules. What happens is just make sure be patient and understanding as I go through certain concepts in digital space as you're typing. Just make sure you respect everyone else because we're all learning together. Be gracious as well. And lastly, along the way, if you want to have any good and relevant questions, feel free to ask. Make sure it's within the lesson, yeah? Okay, so what are we going through today? As mentioned, for the subsequent lessons, it will be more or less like a revision style already. So what are we revising today? Mainly on the strand of number and algebra, so how we manipulate our algebra, certain algebraic formulae we need to take note, some algebraic identities as well, and how we simplify and solve certain quadratic expressions, and lastly, again, number patterns, which may be a little bit hard for some of you, but we will try and see how we can tackle them one day. Alright, so before we start, let's have some topic recap over here. So first one, when we talk about algebra, we talk about the distributive law over here. So over here, when we talk about distributive law, just make sure we are distributing the terms equally. So in this case, first one, a bracket b plus c. We are just distributing our a to both sides, and we have our notion of ab plus ac. Whereas over here, when we talk about distributing over here, my a gets distributed equally from here, and my b gets distributed equally from here on both sides as well. Doing the expansion, you should realize I have AC plus AD plus BC plus BD. So you realize over here, when we talk about our distributive law, if we are moving from left to right, you realize over here we talk about expansion. And also, if you move from right to left, over here we talk about factorization. Alright, so these are certain things that we need to take note of when we talk about distributing terms, or in fact, trying to get the reverse of each other. Now, what happens, of course, distributive law is useful, but we don't really want to do that all the time because it can be quite taxing. So, there are certain algebraic identities we can take note of. But in this case, instead of me writing, let me bring it down to the floor for y'all to type, because there's going to be a little bit quite active for y'all. So, a lot of active revision for y'all, good for y'all as well. So for the first one, a plus b bracket square, what is that particular identity I'm looking for? I'll give you a few seconds to write it out because I understand the expression can be hard. So I'll give you some time to write it out. So what is a plus b bracket square? Okay, by now you should be getting it already, but that's where I'm testing you all right now. Okay, a plus b bracket square, what should I have? Yeah, I'll give you some time to write it out. Okay, I understand my head got cut off just now, but what is a plus b bracket square? I'll give you some time, don't worry about it, maybe about 1 minute or so for you to write it out. And for those who are there, just feel free to write it out. I'll give you some time because I really do feel that this is very, very, very important when it comes to algebraic identities, yeah? Very important. So what is a plus b bracket square? I'll give you some time. Okay, I think I'm getting some responses from most of you all. That's a good sign, yes. Okay, let me just see. I think you are still typing, so I'll wait a while. Alright, very good. That's a good start. I'm seeing a good expression over there. A square, okay? I see some real responses over there. A square plus b square. No, that's not right. Okay, take note over here. I think most of you should be clear. It should be a square plus 2ab plus b squared. Alright, very good note for those who got that. Very, very nice. Okay, now with the minus sign over here, a minus b squared. Can anybody tell me what would be the difference between this expression and the next expression I have? In this case, let me give you a hint. For this, let me label 1. For the other one, let me label 2. For 1 and 2, what will be the difference in my operations over here? Which one will be my difference? Very nice, Denise, giving me the correct expression, writing it out. Wow, good job to you, Denise. Kudos to you. For the rest, okay, what is the difference in my expression over here? Which part? Alright, very nice, Chen Chen, doing a good job over there. For the rest, okay, so now, Knowing that we know 1 is the difference, what should it be? Is it a divide sign? Is it a multiplication sign? Or is it a minus sign? Okay, so now we know the difference is just everything is the same, plus b squared. Then we take note over here. Okay, Denise has given me the answer as well. It should be a minus. So that's one thing to take note, right? Now lastly, what happens? A plus b, a minus b. This expression is going to be giving me a squared minus b squared. So these three particular identities, you will be seeing it a lot in the long run. So do really take note. Okay, in fact, for the next, I would say 8 bubble questions. If I'm not wrong, let me take a look. About 8 bubble questions. Yes, for the 8 bubble questions related to this, then we're wondering, wow, so many. Yes, 8 bubble questions. It will be quite close to these laws we are looking at. Alright, so let's get started with our first bubble question. Very simple type, okay, 1 mark, 2 mark type of question. Simplify this particular expression. Look at it, you have 1 minute launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1. And let's go over here. Alright, so we have 1 minute, give it a try. Alright, this should be quite okay for most of y'all, I would say. Okay, so I should be seeing some responses in the next. Very nice. Alright, so first things first, what happens is to have a good habit, sorry for that. To have a good habit, one thing we can take note is we can always write the expression down first. 3x plus 4a minus 6, 1 minus x plus 2a. Very important to write it down. Very, very important. Alright, seems like most of you are getting it down. Very, very nice. Okay, make sure you expand correctly, especially with the minus signs. Very, very important. Yeah, very, very important. If the last 20 seconds, for the rest of yet to attempt, please try your best. Okay, and I know you guys can do it. Very nice, doing so good, so well. Okay, seems like the first question should be like a warm-up, yeah? Okay, I have 8 more seconds, give it a shot. Counting down to my last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very nice, I have a perfect score, that's good. Okay, but just in case, if you're just in case, for the benefit of the one that did not attempt just now, let me show you how this is done. So over here is the distributing your terms all over. That's what we have. Secondly, we just make sure when we distribute, the 3 gets distributed equally. So 3x plus 12a minus 6 plus 6x minus minus is plus 12a. No, sorry, it's not plus. It should be minus 12a. Then from here, you realize it's going to be simpler because every terms actually cancel out. My 12a gets cancelled out. I am going to have 9x minus 6, which essentially is number 3. Alright, good job over there. Keep yourself a pat on the back, alright, for getting the warm-up. Alright, understand this is like a warm-up question, so let's get to it, alright. Expansion is not usually the issue because it's always just bringing out the terms. Now, factorizing. It's always the hard part when it comes to factorize because we don't really know what do we factorize out of the terms? What are the things that we need to factorize? Or is it such that we might have to change our expressions a little bit? Alright, launching my bubble launcher, 1 minute 30 seconds in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Alright, in this case, please take your time in terms of getting my factorization. Alright, okay, for those who have answered in the 3 seconds, either you have magical powers to straight away factorize in 3 seconds, or you might have attended this lesson before, so it's just a refresher. But don't worry, for the rest, continue the stride, alright? Alright, I'm seeing the responses, going good, going well. As usual, what happens is just write the expression down first. 18qy squared minus 3p. Always make sure to write down my expression first. Very important. Okay, let me see. So very important when you do your expression, yeah? Okay, when we actually take note. Take note of the question. I want completely. So if you're wondering, A, my answer is correct, but why is it not the answer I'm looking for? Take note. When the word says completely, that's where you have to take note. Alright, counting down to my last 20 seconds. Alright, for those of you have to attempt, you have 20 seconds. Give it your best shot, alright? Alright, counting down to my last 10 seconds. For the rest who have yet to attempt, please give it a shot. Last 8. Come on, almost there. Last 5. Yes, some of y'all, okay, I think you realize most of the answers are actually correct. 1 and 2 is actually correct. 3 is a little mistake over here. But why are they not correct? Okay, let's talk about completely first. Now, when we talk a look at completely, we want to make sure that we try to factorize until we cannot do it anymore. Very important. That's the notion of this particular word over here, completely. Alright, when we talk about complete, we want to make sure of any special algebraic identities, any distributive law that we need to use, we better use it up. So first things first, you realize when we talk about factorize, we want to make sure that we can break it up into our brackets and in this particular form as well. So we try to break it up here, we try to break it up here. But however, you take a look at it, it's not really possible because on the left side already, you realize we cannot really factorize. So we have to sort of rearrange. Okay, so not necessarily they give you the terms like this, aha, I need to factorize from here. No, no, no. We actually have to consider, okay, I might have to rearrange and see how we can factorize it as much as we can. So from here you realize, okay, if I actually rearrange my terms as such, this way, and then my 3p goes this way, minus 3p to be exact, and then I were to rearrange as such, 18qy squared minus 2q. You realize then, if I were to look into my two boxes over here, okay, you realize, oh, I can actually do my factorization now. So from here, in my first green color box, what is the term that I can use to factorize out? What is that particular term? Okay, I think since this lesson is going to be quite a bit of you doing the workings, I need to understand how you guys do it. So maybe can I bring it down to the floor before I write down the answer? What is that particular term that I can factorize out in my first green color box here? Anybody want to give it a try? What is that term? Okay, I give you a hint. It's just two things you need to type in your keyboard. So a quick response. I'll give you all 30 seconds to do so. Alright, let me see. Okay, very nice. Some of you got it. You realize it's going to be 3p. Yes, we can factorize 3p and we have 9y squared minus 1. Now for the other bracket, you realize if we do the same thing, I can factorize out 2q and 18y squared. Sorry, not 18y squared. It's 9y squared. Apologies for that. So it's going to be 9y squared minus what? Now from here, you realize what is the common term here? The common term here is actually 9y squared minus 1. So from here, if I have 9y squared minus 1, what can I do? I factorize out this particular term. And what will I have inside? 3p plus 2q. Now realize some of you actually answer this one. This is correct, but this is not the final answer because again of this word completely. And then some of you chose 2 because again this is my final answer. But is it completely yet? No, because of this particular term. Okay, if you look at this closely, this refers to my algebraic expression. And does someone wants to try? What will be, actually I don't think you need to try because the correct option, if we know this is not correct, this is not correct, and this is totally different from the expression, we do know this follows the expression a squared minus b squared. So my a is actually 3y, my b is actually 1. So following that, I'm going to have 3p plus 2q. This is going to be 3y minus 1 and 3y plus 1. Following for my color coding over here. Alright, so for this one, this is actually my expression. So that's why in this case that previous recap is important because that's where you get all the particular algebraic identities and how we factorize them as much as possible. Alright, so I hope this is all good, but based on the responses, I think it is going good as well. So next up, let's move on to the third one to attempt for your very interesting one, I would say. Then you may realize, teacher, this is algebraic cos power 2. Take a close look, let's see what you have, okay? And in fact, okay, if you know your special algebraic identities, it will be easy to see. Alright, launching my bubble launcher. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright, very, very important over here, alright? Take note what is given to you and what you can use for this given expression. Alright, so whenever it says given that, just take note that this particular expression will definitely be useful for you to manipulate your stuff around. Alright, so as we study these questions, we try to see how we answer them through progression. Alright, how we answer them. Alright, by looking at the response, it looks good. Okay, let me just adjust myself. Okay, I'll just take a while for you to see. Okay, take note of the expansions. Okay, very, very important. Alright, I'm seeing one of the response. Take note what is the common mistake that you all do. Okay, take note of your special algebraic identities. Okay, so given this, what can I do? Okay, let me just write it down. So given this, what can I do? So this is the expression I am given. So what am I supposed to do with it? Okay, just take note over there. Some of you are falling into the trap. Take note, how would we expand the first one? Yes, I'm seeing most of you are falling into the particular trap for question 3. Alright, last 8 seconds. Okay, that's not the case. Okay, some of you are just falling into the trap. Okay, let me see the response. Alright, not too bad, but most of you are falling into the trap. Take note, how do we expand this one? This is not, take note, some of you all did it this way. That's why you all have the first option. But this is not the case. Remember, if we were to recap everything what we have, if I treat this as A, I treat this as B, you are going to essentially have A square plus 2AB plus B squared. Right? So what do I have? This expression is going to give me, remember, my left hand side over here is going to be 25. Given what we have, we try to see how we can change our expression. Left hand side is going to be 1 square, which is 1A square, plus 2 plus A square. So this is what we have. Well, now take a look at the question. What do they want? They want the value of 1 over A square plus A square. So what can we do? You realize what is left over here to do is just bringing over my 2. 25 minus 2 is 23. And in fact, this is just my final answer. So that's where there is 2. For those who have answered 1, take note that is a common mistake when you expand. So remember my special algebraic identities that we went through in the recap just now. For those who have missed it, you can always refer to this recording later that I will upload and see the recap from there. Alright, okay, so take note from that common mistakes that is made. Alright, now, giving more stuff, algebraic formulae. I have given this, so making one of them the subject. How would I do it? Okay, launching the bubble launcher, question 4 again in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Alright, let's go over here. Alright, so see what we have. Alright, very nice. So take note, alright, take very clear note. What do we have? Again, just be careful with your expansions and try not to do from the question. Write down my expressions first. Very, very important. Alright, with 1 minute 10 seconds left. Again, try to see what we have over here. Okay, be careful of the manipulation, guys. Okay, be careful. Otherwise, you are doing good, doing well. Last around 50 seconds. Almost saying 50 minutes. 50 seconds, guys. Last 50 seconds. Alright, doing good. Okay. I have about 30 seconds left. For those who have yet to do it, try our best to see how we can solve from there. Anyway, along the way, if you have any questions, just feel free to write down. But if there is no questions, it's okay. That means you have understood it very well. Keep up the good work. Okay, I think I have all my responses over there. Very good. But take note, I think there's a little mistake that some of you may have made, which I'll go through. But then again, there might be a system error. Some of you may not have attempted. So I am actually going to give you all till the timer runs out. Last 3, 2, 1. Alright, good job down there. For the rest, let's see how we can do it. Okay, so I want to make B the subject. So what happens? In this case, when I talk about B being the subject, it should be B on my left, the rest of it on my right. Okay, we try to do it in that way. In this case, what can I do? My 3C's at the bottom, I can multiply it to the left first. Okay, making things easier, I can shift my 1 to the left. I can make 3ac. That is where some of you make the mistake. Minus 1 bring over. It should be a plus 1. Some of you write minus 1. It should be this case over here. Now that's where I switch it accordingly. I have b sort of almost becoming my subject already. All I have to do, I want b, not b squared. So b squared is actually 3ac plus 1. This is okay. Okay, mainly I would say most of the mistakes that I'm seeing over here is from this step to this step. Okay, some of you write minus 1. Take note. Minus 1 bring over, it becomes plus 1. So that's where we need to take note over here, based on the options I'm seeing. Alright, then from there, take note, what do? We just need to do the square root. The square root over here. So from here, we just have b square root. Okay, by right, there's supposed to be a plus minus, but in this case, let's assume, in this case, the question will take the positive one. Okay, there will be information there that tells you when we take the positive one, there should be a plus minus, but in this case, based on the options, number 2 is my answer. Alright, so just be careful with the manipulations, okay, especially with the seemingly innocent minus sign. Alright, seemingly innocent minus sign, we do have to take note from there. Alright, now next up we have our next bubble questions. Today it's a lot of you attempting, yeah? So next bubble question, just a recap. How do we simplify? So our cancellation, how do we manipulate a lot of algebra over here, yeah? So divide, what should we do? Launching our bubble launcher. In 3, 2, 1, 1 minute 30 seconds. Let's go. Right, let's see what we have. We have, very nice. Okay, again what happens is try to have the common consensus of actually writing out, or we have our common consensus of writing out what the question is asking. Again, when we talk about simplest form completely with these common phrases over here, please take note. We want to make sure we do it until we cannot do it anymore. Okay, I think I'm blocking that one, but it should be good. Okay, let's see, 1 minute left. Alright, okay, seems like I am getting better and better responses over here. That's a good sign. I have the last 40 seconds, alright? So, yeah, keep it up. Hang in there with me. And let's see how we can continue to move on. We have the last 35 seconds. Yeah, I'll just drink some water along the way. Just bear with me. Alright, responses are going good, going well. It seems like even though there's no typing over here, I understand why. In fact, I would say everyone is doing well over here, and I have a perfect notion over here. That's a good sign. But I think someone just entered, so let's just let the timer run out. And yes, last 5, 3, perfect. Alright, let's see what we have. So I think everyone has done it, but for the recap, hopefully you're doing it right, because if the option is correct but your working is wrong, somewhere along the line you should not get the full mark. So let me just go through for the integrity. So 21xy over 16. When we divide, we change it to a times. Times, what happens? We flip our fraction around. Okay. And then after that, we try to simplify. Or in this case, if you don't want to cancel it out this way, it's very confusing. We can actually bring our terms together. So writing it explicitly as such. 21 times 8 times x squared, x times y, your indices from sec 3, just take note. And the other one is 16 times 15 times y squared. Sorry for that, there's no x, that's y squared. Now what happens, that's why you simplify as much as you can. You realize if I simplify my terms, this one over here becomes 7, this one over here becomes 10. Along the way, how you simplify, up to you. I'm not going to check on that, but make sure you simplify to 7 and 10. At the top, you realize, okay, y cancels out. I only have one y left, and that's where you have the answer of 7x over 10y squared. Alright, for this simplification, if you are not sure, you can actually just key in your calculator from here to here for this part. Sorry for that, there's no arrow. For this part over here, you can actually use your calculator from here. Okay, where's my mistake over there, Chen Zheng? No, I don't think. Oh, yes. Okay, I have written it wrongly. That's right. Thank you for the note, Chen Zheng. This should not be y squared. Alright, thank you for the clarity. Means you are listening. Alright, thank you. Okay, so 7x squared over 10y. Okay, thank you for the note, Chen Zheng. I'll take note of that. Alright, thank you for the alertness. Now in this case, back to my notion over here for the green color one. If what happens if you are scared and you are not sure, I cannot simplify more, you can take the numbers out, key this into the calculator, and it will still give you the answer over there. So key this in the calculator. Okay, this should be in the calculator, alright? And we can solve. For the numbers, for the alphabets, unfortunately, it does not work, and this is the answer. Okay, so that's how you express your working, which shouldn't be an issue over here. Alright, based on the notion over here. Wow, that's good, that's good. I have very good responses over here. Now let's move on. Bubble question number 6. Alright, so in this case, what happens? For this question, there are gonna be 3 different parts. So 6, 7, 8 bubble questions are related. So let's take note, yeah? So a lot of information. Let's see how we tackle over here. So look at the information. This one I will not read it out for you because it's meant for revision. So that's why I decipher the information and let's see how we fare. Launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1. Let's go over here. Okay, find the value of k. Very nice. I'm seeing good signs over here. Let's go, let's go. Okay, so write down what we have over first, or see the information that we have, which I don't think I will give you all because that's meant for revision. I feel that by right now, it should be clear that certain information should be deciphered for you. Hey, but don't worry about it. No worries about it. That's where we all learn together, and I'm seeing the response. It's a very good sign. It's very good, very clear. Okay, we do have about 20 seconds left. Alright, counting down to our last 10. Let's see who has yet to do it. Okay, last 5. Okay, I think some of you are rushing there already, just clicking randomly. Okay, let's see. Okay, no worries, most of you got it right, but let's see how we tackle this question. Alright, so now what is given to us first? We have the equation. So usually what happens if equations are given, we write it out and see how it helps us. So in this case, I have C is equals to K plus 50 over X. Okay, now what happens? They tell you something like this, okay? So essentially, you realize all this information you cannot really sub in here because this information is just to give you this equation over here. But what is the information that's important? You should see 100 worksheets are printed. Each worksheet costs $2. So can you tell me over here, based on the information over here, which alphabet equals to which number? Okay, for this one, I want you to write it out and tell me which alphabet equals to which number. I'll give you about 2 minutes to try, and I want to see your responses, alright? So feel free to take your time and write it out. Which alphabet equals to which number? Okay, so I have something is equals to, over here, K plus 50 over something. So what is this value I put here? What is this value I put here based on the question over here as such? Very nice. Okay, very nice, Santan. Okay, this one should be the value you have said. Very nice, fun, perfect job over here. For the rest, I'll give you some time to write it out. That's a good sign over there. Okay, and we'll give you all like maybe 1 minute or so to give it a shot. Very nice one. Good job over there. Perfect job. Very nice, Junrong. Wow, okay, I'm seeing the responses over there. Good one, good one. I want you all to write it out so that we can track the process together, alright? Okay, I'll give you all about maybe 15 seconds to give it a try. Okay, let me see, 5 more seconds for those who have yet to write. Alright, awesome. I think most of you got it. You realize each worksheet costs $2, so C is 2. And in this case, X is 100. So that's where we have this. And 2 equals to K plus 0.5. So just make sure when you balance, you get K is equals to 1.5. 2 minus 0.5. That's how you get 1.5. Okay? From here to here is 2 minus 0.5 to give me 1.5. And that's why my answer is number 1. Okay? Good job over there. That's the value of K. Now remember I said that the 2 bubble questions are related to each other. I hope you all got it. So next up, find the total cost of printing 400 worksheets. So from here, we know my equations becomes this. Okay, this one should be straightforward. So 1.5 plus 50 over x. Let me take a look. 1.5. Yes, it's 1.5. Okay, how do we solve this question? What are we looking out for? And total cost. Take note, total cost, how do we leave it? Launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. We have 1 minute to do this. I think you all can do it. You guys are doing so well now. Okay, take note, 100 worksheets. Yeah, 100 worksheets. Sorry, 400 worksheets. I'm seeing the initial conditions. 400 worksheets, what do we have? Okay, let's see what we have. I want the total cost. Look at the questions. I want the total cost. Some of you are reading it wrongly. I want the total cost. I want the total cost. Some of you are reading a little bit wrongly, and I understand where you are coming from. Okay, very nice. Okay, some of you may be realizing, hey, my working is correct. Why does it feel so weird? Okay, you have last 10 seconds. Okay, most of you are doing good, but for those who didn't get it wrongly, you realize I'm looking for something else. Last one. Okay, I think some of you misread the question, so let's do it together. Take note, I'm looking for the total cost, but what is given there? It's just the cost of each worksheet. So I think most of you all know where you all went wrong, because over here I'm looking at the total cost of each worksheet. C over here is for each worksheet. So if I were to sub in the number, in this case we know X is 400, so 1.5 plus 50 over 400. Okay, take note, this is because it is my intermediate working, so when we do C, please do not give it in 2 decimal places first, because this is the intermediate working I have. C is a value. I am not saying what is the number yet, it is a value I'm looking for. So if I have an intermediate value, this value should be maintained as such. Unless I'm asking for the cost of each worksheet, if 400 worksheets are printed, then option number 2 will be correct. But over here, I'm looking at the total cost. This is still part of the process. So what happens? I am going to take the total cost of 1625. From here, I multiply by 400. And for those who took 163 multiplied by 400, it's not correct because you round it up first. This reduces the accuracy. Just like how we do in previous questions. If we have the intermediate working, we leave it as the decimal places as much as we can. If it's recurring, up to 5 significant figures. The more the better, but 5 significant figures should be enough depending on the question. Okay? And in this case, if I multiply by 400, my answer is 650. That's why number 3. And in fact, for this one, there should be a dollar sign. If there's no dollar sign, there's an error. Alright? Okay, so that's where we have it. And now, counting down to my last bubble question before you can breathe, is as such. Now, if the cost of printing the worksheet is $7.75, how many worksheets were printed? So this one, I feel it's a little bit more straightforward. But let's see what we have. Launching the bubble launcher. In 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Over here. Right, this one should be a little bit more straightforward, I hope. Crossing my fingers here. But again, what I'm looking for is this notion over here. Alright, I'm always looking at this notion, so don't worry about it. Okay? Okay, I have the last 35 seconds over here. It seems like based on the options, you guys are doing so good. Alright, very nice, very nice. Hang in there with me. Last 25 seconds. Alright, based on the options, you guys are doing good, doing well. Hang in there with me. Last 10 seconds. Okay, take note. I have my options over here, so be very, very careful with your manipulation. Last one. Alright, I think most of you got it, but let's see where went wrong. Okay, so no worries about it. What happens is when we look at this type of questions, right, we actually want to see what we need to sub in and what is required, and just be careful with your algebraic manipulation. So take note, cost of printing this worksheet is $7.75. So where do we sub in, C or X? Okay, I think the option is quite clear. In this case, it will be C, so 7.75. 1.5 plus 50 over x. Now from here, that's where we solve. Over here, 50x is equals to, manipulate 7.75. Do we plus or minus? Minus, in this case, 6.25. And from here, once we have this, x, take note, 50 divided by 6.25. This is equals to 8. Okay, some of you answered 1, some of you answered 4, because you might have accidentally manipulate certain things wrongly. Okay, so just be careful with your manipulation and nothing will go wrong. It can be appearing in this step over here whereby you add 1.5, or based on the mistakes over what I'm seeing, it can be you multiply over here instead of divide. So just be careful with your algebraic and manipulation. Alright, so that is this part of the revision for today. I hope it is clear, and I believe so, because based on the responses we have. Now moving up to the next one over here, solving quadratic equations. So recall what is a quadratic equation? It is always going to be of this form. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. If there's no equal sign, it's not an equation anymore. It's an expression. So let's take note. Now from here, what happens is this. Okay, there are a few things you need to take note of if we can actually factorize this particular expression. Very, very important over here. Okay, so first question we should ask, when we go to our quadratic equations, can this quadratic expressions be factorized? Then the answer is either yes or no. Yes, maybe, it depends, but there are only two choices, yes or no. There's no maybe. Okay, if it's maybe, that means it's half-half. Usually in math, it's quite straightforward. It's either 1 or 2. But very interesting note. But that's where we have to affirm ourselves, whether is it yes or no. If yes, anybody can tell me the tool to actually do the factorization. What is that particular tool we use to factorize a particular factorization over here? What is that particular tool? I'll give you some time to write it out. There's this particular tool we use to write it out. What is that particular method we use to actually factorize that expression in this case? Okay, when I talk about expression, take note, it's just this one. The 0 does not need to be factorized. Give you some time. Alright, very nice. I'm seeing it. Okay, you have our factorization table. But in this case, I'm seeing a lot of factorization table, but there's actually another method. Can anybody tell me what is the other method? Can anybody tell me over here, what is another method that I can use? It starts with M. Okay, maybe that's how your school taught you, Chen Chen, but I think I get what you mean. Okay, there's a lot of names, but maybe the particular name that usually where we use. Okay, I think I get what you mean. It's this thing called the multiplication frame. Okay, so we can use the multiplication frame as well. It helps us with the factorization table. Some of you are more familiar with this. Okay, but what happens if it's not? We can take a good look at this. Is my coefficient of A equals to 1? If it's equals to 1, what happens is we do have to take note of two things. Okay, either yes or no. Does anybody want to take a guess? If my coefficient is equals to 1, what method do you think we can use to solve my quadratic equations? Yes, Denise, there's still more, so don't worry about it. In fact, there is quite a few today. But let's see how we do this. If it's yes, okay, if my coefficient is equals to 1, what method can we use to solve my quadratic expression? Very good, Chen Chen, that is one. Anybody else wants to try? What is another method we can use? There's one more method actually. Chen Chen has mentioned one. Let's see for the rest. Very good, Jing Hong, that is another one that we have. Very good, Chen Chen. That is right. So essentially we have two methods: complete the square or quadratic formula. So just in case if you're wondering how my complete the square looks like, in this case, if my coefficient is 1, x squared plus or minus bx plus c. What we do over here, bracket x plus minus b, our coefficient divides by 2, and we take the subtraction of the b over 2. So we do this and we take the subtraction of the square. That is your complete the square notion. Okay, whereas take note, if your coefficient now in this case is not equals to 1, You have not learned how to complete a square for that unless you have taken A math. It is possible, but for those who did not, if your A is not equals to 1, we have your quadratic formula, which is this long chunk of formula over here that I'll not ask you to write because it's quite nasty. So I go by this rhythm called negative b plus minus square root over b square minus 4ac over 2a. You can create a rhythm. I know this sounds a bit lame, but I can create a rhythm to help you understand how this formula comes about. So this is your quadratic formula over here. Okay, now with all these tools over here, what can be a type of a quadratic equations that comes out to solve? So one very famous type is something like this. The first part is okay, they ask you to solve the equation, but it is always usually the second part that throws you off. Okay, so solve the equation first. So let's solve together. So I have 6x squared plus 11x equals to 10. Now before I go on and use my formulas, can anybody tell me, in this case, what should I do first? What is the first thing I should do for this equation? Okay, based on this equation, what must I ensure? Very good, Denise, you must do that. Yeah, you must do that. For the rest, anybody want to give it a try? What must I do first? Very good, Fan, that's right. Okay, so we must, what happens, ensure that my, very good, Chen Zheng, all your options are correct, but essentially we want to make sure when we solve our quadratic equation, it is going to be 0 on my right hand side. Okay, remember my equation equals to 0, that's for my quadratic. Okay, then from here, let's take a good note. Is this factorizable? So we try to use our factorization table and we do it. In this case, yes, we have 2x plus 5. Okay, this one I will just do it because I believe you all should be proficient in your factorization table by now. If not, you will need to revisit the Sec 2 videos recordings on quadratic equations, okay, to familiarize how you do the factorization table. Right, then from here, when this is equal to 0, I'm going to have 2x plus 5 equals to 0, or 3x minus 2 equals to 0. This is a zero product principle. When the product is 0, either of them is 0. Then from there, we can solve 2x equals to minus 5, x is equals to minus 5 over 2, or the other one, 3x is equals to 2, x is equals to 2 over 3. That is what we have. Now for the second part, the first part should be okay. It is usually the second part that throws us. Okay, over here. Now from here, does anybody want to throw some suggestions? How do I go about using the word? And take note, please, very important, do not, I repeat, do not start expanding this and solve. If you do that, you will not get any marks at all if you were to come out. Why? This magic word over here. Hence. Okay, if you were to expand out, you are not using the previous equation, so we therefore cannot do that. So, back to my question, based on this equation over here, 6p minus 1 squared plus 11p equals to 21. What do you think is the intuition to solving this type of question, this question? How do we solve this type of question? Oh my god, it's totally different, hence I don't know how to start. And in fact, based on papers, yes, first step, very good, we minus 21 on both sides, very good, note that it's bringing down to the fundamentals of the equation. But next up, what can I do? Okay, very good, that's the first step, Denise. But next one, what can we do? Okay, slowly think about it, what can we do from here? Okay, expand. Take note, remember Denise, what did I say? Do not expand. Why? Because of this word here, hence. Once you see this word hence over here, you must make sure you use the previous part. That's one thing. Okay, so go try Denise, but don't do expansion over here. Remember what I said. So, what I said is hence, right? Hence, you must use the previous part. But let's take a close look. Okay, when we see the word hence, we can try to see, is there any resemblance in this equation and this equation over here? So let's take a look. One is 6x squared plus 11x equals to 10. The other one is 6p minus 1 squared plus 11p equals to 21. What is the similarity between these two equations? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Anybody wants to try? Just throw some thoughts over there. That's where we all discuss and we all learn together. That's one thing. Okay, very nice. I think you are getting it. Very good. Very nice, Denise. Very nice, Fan. That's essentially the pieces. If I were to put two of your information together, Denise and Fan, it is essentially how you solve this. But for the rest, anybody else wants to try? Okay, essentially, if I were to put Fan's and Denise's concept together, it is how we solve this. Which I'll share Fan's suggestion to Denise and Denise to Fan in the wow. I'll give you about 1 minute. Think about it. What is the way to solve this equation? Okay. So I'll give you all 1 minute to think about it. Okay, maybe 1 minute is too long. 30 seconds to think about it. Okay. To see gather the responses, right? Now, alright, very nice. Substitution, very good one. There's some form of that, so I want to mix three of them. Now, maybe I would actually put certain things over here. So in fact, Denise's suggestion, followed by Fan's and the concept of Wen's will actually help. So let me share the responses with everyone, shall we? So first, I will do this. I will actually make minus 10 out of minus 21. What does she mean? She will means this way. Plus 11p. Minus, make minus 10 out. So I have minus 11 minus 10. That is for this first part over here. Now, once it's done, you realize, oh, you realize now I have something similar because I will have this one over here. How does this work? If I were to factorize 11 over here, do you guys then realize that is where the hands come in, because it is essentially where x is equals to p minus 1. Once you have that, that is where the hands part comes in. And finally, the concept of substitution comes into play by 1. Let x is equals to p minus 1, and therefore I have this. And that is where hands come in, because you are using the previous result to solve. So from there, essentially, you have the answers from the previous part already. Just write it down. 2 over 3. And therefore, x is p minus 1. Okay, solve it from there. P minus 1. And then from here, I'm going to disappear for a while. Don't worry about it. I'll come back because of the space I need. Okay. Minus 1, so you bring 1 in. It's going to be 1.5 minus 1.5. And the other one is going to be 2 over 3 plus 1 is equals to 1, 2 over 3. Alright, so that's what we have based on these three concepts over here as such. So good job over there to everyone. Thank you for your contribution for this question. And that's how you solve it for this type. Sometimes this type of question can be very straightforward. You do not need to even do this step. But however, the concept always comes in. You have to do certain substitution. And the forms will be similar like this. That's the crux of this kind of question and quite commonly tested, I would say. Alright, now 3 more bubble questions. 1 more regards to some algebraic manipulation. Let's solve this together, shall we? Launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Alright, let's go. Alright, very nice, doing good over here. So one thing to take note, what we can do for this particular type of equations is to actually, first step, write down the question. Once we write down the question, essential, we can actually solve it straight. Okay, but I would say based on today's lesson, you guys are doing so well, but along the way also, if there's any queries, feel free to ask. Alright, very important, very good thing to take note. Okay, very nice, but please take note over there. Right, last 45 seconds. Okay, I see some of you all might have some manipulation mistakes. Do take note, alright? Make sure when you do your factorization, very important, this is a very common trick that can come out in terms of questions, I would say. Last 10 seconds. Alright, counting down to my last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, time's up. Let's see my responses. Okay, so my responses is not too bad. Alright, just 4 of you did not attempt. Maybe there isn't enough time, but let's take a look how we solve this. Now, over here, what we need to do, we need to manipulate. So what happens? We try to bring all those with the fractions on my left so that we can simplify as much as we can. And then bring the ones with the numbers on the right. Now, we need to make the common terms together, and we realize, oh, the terms are a bit different. Because this is 2x minus 3. 3 minus 2x. So they are actually direct negatives of each other. So essentially, when you simplify them, it should be 2x plus 1. Minus minus is plus over 3 minus 2x. This is equals to 5. From here, once you manipulate, you have 2x plus 1, 5, 3 minus 2x over here. Simplify further. Remember, all your laws come into play. Distribute them equally. I'm going to have 2x plus 1 equals to 15 minus 10x. Simplify more. 12x is equals to, in this case, 14. And I will have x is equals to 7 over 6 in your calculator. 1 over 6. Henceforth, this answer over here. Alright, so just to take note of the manipulation and when you simplify your algebraic expressions. Okay, now back to our last topic recap for today. Number patterns. And what happens for number patterns is there is this particular number pattern that we take note, because number patterns can be any patterns, but a common number pattern that will come out is a one with a constant difference. So example, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, what am I saying? 2, 5, 8, 11. So it's a common difference in this case of 3. So how does this formula come about? We have a first term A, and we realize A plus dn minus 1. How do we get it? In this case, you can refer, if you want to know how we get it, I don't think I have enough time to elaborate everything. You can refer to my to the set 1 recording on the topic of number patterns. There's actually elaboration, a part on how this formula comes about. But for common difference, we always relate to this. Okay, if it's any n term. Alright, understand? I hope this is clear for everyone. And with regards to this, let's see how we solve it. Last 2 bubble questions over here. We have our n-term formula, launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay, so if you were to follow the notion, no worries, Denise, just make sure as long as you get the n-term, it will be fine. It is just one particular way where we can get it. It's just a suggestion. I don't expect you to follow it. But as long as you get that familiar method, it will be okay. I'm okay. So long as it is mathematically accurate. Okay, so take note. What is... First thing, okay, before you jump to common difference, take note from the sequence first. Is there actually a common difference over here? Then you use the common difference method. Okay, when you go from term to term, make sure first. Don't because the first 2 terms is... Then you assume, oh, first 2 terms, you cover both eyes and say, oh, it's common difference. No, No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be checking all the particular terms. Alright, looks good. I have the last 8 seconds, guys. 8 seconds, hanging there with me. Alright, doing good. Last 4. Give me a good try. Okay, I see all the options coming. Click, click, click. Okay, based on all the options there, awesome job. Most of you get it right. So let's see. Now, over here, the common difference is minus 4. It's not 4, yeah? So for those who came in 4, you realize some of you give me a weird option. But for those who are giving me a common difference of minus 4, means my sequence is actually decreasing. It will give you a different answer. So just take note. Okay. So it should be minus 4. In this case, it's decreasing. My first term, 23, plus d, following the terms, plus minus 4 and minus 1. Again, that's where you realize we start from revising my distributive law over here. And you have 23 minus 4n plus 4. That's where I have 27 minus 4n. Again, just check your algebraic manipulations. It shouldn't be an issue here. Now, last type of question that will come out, okay, is the AO3 kind, whereby it is not directly asking you for the answer. They ask you to explain why as such. Okay, so we have 1 minute, give it a shot, launching the bubble launcher in 3, 2, 1, last bubble question, let's go. Okay, maybe Denise, during the Q&A session, maybe you want to elaborate what is the method that the school taught you. Okay, so to not stress you out writing everything, because I'm actually interested how the school taught you. So we can actually evaluate on our side and see how it goes from our side. Alright? If there's time for you, yes, no stress. Okay, very nice, but take note. Oh, I forgot, sorry. I should write this down for you. Sorry for that. So 27 minus 4n. Okay, at the last 30 seconds. Okay, this is important because when we solve, we will need this statement. What is the proper explanation? Very important. What is that proper explanation that we get? Okay, it must be mathematically correct based on how it's written down. Last 5, 3, 1. Okay, very nice. But I think most of you are sticking to 2 options. Let's see why they are not correct. Okay, so most of you are answering between 1, 2, and 4. This is correct because not an integer is not enough. Because yes, not an integer is not enough. It has to be a number because integers can be negative. I cannot have a negative term. So that's why 3 is totally out. So most of y'all all of y'all did not answer that, so that's good. Okay, but now why we cannot say this? We cannot say this because this is not enough. The term is continuing. Okay, the term is continuing. You cannot show it straight away, and unless maybe you write down everything. But it's not clear if you were to write this out. What they want to see is the mathematical vigor when you use the equations from the n term. Why is it not a n term formula? Why is it not a particular term? So that's where we have to realize, oh, this is not clear enough. I have to make use of the term formula. That's why we did the previous part. Okay, and from that, it does not equate to this. No, because by equating, it's just forming an equation. If I let this equation equals to this, I'm equating it already. So it does equate. But when I solve it, in this case, 4n equals to 30, n is equals to 7.5. It must be a positive integer, and therefore this is the correct explanation. Because if you look at my terms, term 1, term 2, term 3, all the way, it has to be a positive integer. If it's not a positive integer, it's not correct. But if it's not an integer, it cannot be true because integer can mean positive or negative. Okay, so if you were to say this, you are giving the situation whereby a negative integer is possible, but we cannot have a negative 1 term, negative 2 term. So that's why this is not correct. And based on the options, I've equated it already, so that's why this is not correct. And this is not vigorous enough, so this is not correct as well. Okay, not entirely correct. So we want the best option available. So that's why it's number 4. Alright, and with this, alright, there's actually it for today. So what happens? There's a quadratic equation style of question. Give it a shot. Try this question. This is a particular kind of questions whereby we use quadratic equations to solve for real life questions, real world example questions for quadratic equation. So do give it a practice. This is a good try to actually see whether you can decipher a quadratic equation from there based on the real world context. And yep, that's it for today. So what do we go through today? Basically, revision number 3 on what is the algebraic manipulation and formulae, what is the identities used, how do we simplify, and what is the number patterns that we have done for today. Okay, so with that, that's all for today. If there's any questions, there's a little Q&A after this particular lesson. But yes, Denise, okay, no problem. I will remind you again if I do remember. Alright, but that's it for today. And yes, it's Teacher Jason signing off, and I will see you all next time. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.